Ahoy there, I'm Tiny Pirate. Welcome to a special episode of Scrap Mechanic. Today we are painting things because the paint tool has been released. To use it, you press Q and then select a color. And in this case, my TIE bomber is going to go black. Like the proverbial door, we're going to paint it black. And the other things in that song, we'll paint them black too. Everything will go black. And the paint tool is really neat. First of all, lovely puffs of painty sort of dust, I don't know. And the second thing is it paints details on objects that don't go a solid color. So if you paint an engine, it has the trim in black. If you paint a spring or a hazard box, it sort of goes black gray. Stuff like that. It's really cool. I really like it. It is pretty neat. Now, when I recorded this video, I managed to fail totally to get any kind of voice going. I muted my microphone. Yeah, I was being clever with some other activities in the house. Muted the microphone, and what do you know? When you mute your microphone, you don't record any audio. End result is I'm doing this commentary after the fact. So yes, oh look, wonderfully black painted engines. Don't they look cool with that black trim? And the large panels on things, they can all go nice black color as you would expect them to be painted. Some metal elements and other highlights remain. Even buttons go black, which is neat. But overall, Paint Tool does a really smart job of giving you the sense that you've actually spray painted something, but without totally ruining the look, which is something that all of us are quite capable of doing, I'm sure. So the TIE bomber, I'm going to speed through this construction, but I think you'll agree it looks pretty neat flying around all dressed in black. So here we are, hopping in the bomber, flipping it over to get a good angle, and look at its wonderful black beautiness. As long as we don't slam it into the walls, it'll be amazing. I really like how nice it looks. I mean, it's a little plain being entirely black in some ways. You'd kind of expect maybe some trim, but you know, I'm okay with that. I mean, it really fits the part. It actually looks a lot more like a TIE bomber than I would have perhaps thought with just a simple paint job. Still flies beautifully, of course, when I remember to keep the engines on, things like that. Look at it go. Anyway, probably time we move on to painting something else. And in my save files, I found the X-Wing. So of course that needs to start off basically white. And you'll see that it's a little bit of a pain because each of the individual components, like metal pieces, all have to be individually painted white. There's a lot of clicking, but I cope with it through sheer will and determination to overcome the challenge. After painting it white, it's time to add trim. So in classic X-Wing style, we're going to make that red all over. And of course, we're going to have to worry about getting under the wings as well. Once it's flipped over and painted, I think you'll agree it looks quite a lot like an X-Wing. I reckon. Pretty decent effect all round. Pretty straightforward to use a paint tool. Click or click drag just like you build. And right click removes the paint and so returns the thing back to its normal colors. There's a little bit of a weird visual bug. Only one engine appears to be on. In fact, all of them are on. Otherwise it wouldn't fly, believe me. I don't quite know how that happened, but doesn't really matter. We still get the proper effect. A flying X-Wing. Look at it go. Bouncing off trees. Soaring through the sky in all of its red and white glory. Pretty damn pleased with it. When the S-foils open, it looks looks neat. Soaring across the landscape, no trouble at all. Lovely. So the next thing I thought I would paint is the train, because it's basically the only other thing I could find in the landscape. I had a monster truck. I was going to paint that. Obviously, I thought that would be pretty cool. And a few other bits and bobs, but I've lost them. I don't know where they are. They're probably slammed into some scenery somewhere, and I had to run around on some of my maps and couldn't find them. So they are gone. Instead, I thought we would paint the train a beautiful pink color. So this train was lots of fun to build, but I came into some real problems where the physics just can't really keep up with free floating objects, and the track becomes free floating when you build it because you can't weld it down. So to cut a long story short, the more track you build, the harder it is for the physics to kind of keep up, and everything starts to wobble strangely and go a bit wrong. But even though that is the case, the train itself, the monorail, was pretty fun build. So I thought, why not make it a lovely hot pink? And I think you'll agree, it looks gorgeous. So at the end of the track here, I tried to build track going down the hill. I suffered some real problems. First of all, this long vehicle does not like going over bends. Second of all, trying to create moving objects with long limbs, like a long track that might tip forward, or a long hook maybe a long swing that might swing the car down. That also just didn't work. The controllers weren't strong enough to move all the heavy items. So I unfortunately had to can my plans to build a track going down the hill. And at the end of this fork was where I had my first big physics problems, because the track was resting on the ground, and it became very difficult. And you couldn't really keep the track from wobbling strangely, and everything getting jammed up and stuck. Cut a long story short, very difficult to build a massive long track of curved stuff in Scrap Mechanic. But never mind, enough of my griping. Some of these things will be fixed, I'm sure, as they come to release, and others just limitations of the engine. Anyway, that's enough from me looking at the paint tool. Thought it'd be kind of fun to go around and do some painting on some of my old objects. Hope you've enjoyed having a quick look, and I hope to catch you again soon in some other game or episode. Until next time, I've been Tony Pirate. Good night.